maybe like 70-80% of the show, then you can stay where you are. But if you want to see everything, then please do come down this side, gather round. We'll just get warmed up and then...
Fa arall i ni. Fel chi'n cymeradwyddiad sydd yn hoff.
And originally it was used on the Japanese streams, which would have been something like the Upper Wearing, you know, the very, very rocky streams. Not necessarily the big wide rivers, but I don't think they have them. And it was a technique that the pilot was used to use. 12-foot line rod, extremely soft in the tip, because we have no reel. If a big fish wants to disappear, there's nowhere for him to go, you see. Now, the line on this, the line is the black art of the thing, if you wish. This leader is 12 feet long on a 12-foot 9 rod, and all we use is about 3 feet of ordinary line. I'm all fly fishing anyway. We're a fly fisher, so we know what we're talking about. Now, the simple concept of Tenkara, I say the type of water you'd be using them in, absolutely churning or absolutely ripping through. You'd never get a fly to float or fish properly in that off an ordinary rod. But with this, you can get them into all those nasty little pockets, and the key thing is that you can get a drag-free drift for about as long as you really want to do it. You cannot do that with anything else. I've rigged this up at the moment with a dry fly, which is just like a shuttlecock. You can use them with nymphs, little beaded nymphs is fine, little spider wet flies is fine, but the original Tenkara method was a single wet fly. That's what it was, they were wet flies, I guess because they just got drowned in these very, very fast pieces of water. So the technique on this is, in instructor terms, is what we call a tuck cast. If we stop very short there, the fly will arc over and only the fly will land. It's very obvious when you see a nymph because you see it flip in.
How many seconds? 10. 10 seconds. 30 seconds there. That's very good, sir. Anybody else wants to give it a go? Nobody? Nobody wants to team up?
I mean, I could stand here and drift it from there all the way down there, and it takes about 5 minutes. But the theory of this, really, if I was fishing those little, that's perfect up there, between those weed beds. The theory is that because you're walking upstream, you're already fishing this portion by you, yeah? So, although the recommendation is to cast there, it maybe only comes to there, you recast. It comes to there, you recast. You recast, and so on and so on and so on. Because as you're working upstream, you've already fished this bit. It's a fairly heavy wet fly, and the flies, you know what a wet fly looks like, the hackle is normally backwards towards the bend. These are tied, what they call sakasa kabari, which means a reverse hackle. You might have tied some of these yourself. So if that's the bend of the hook, the hackle is tied so that it's pointing that way as opposed to that way. Some very small streams, you'd have knee pads on, and you'd be on your knees, or if it was very, very shallow, you'd be kneeling down in the middle of the river, because it's like anything, you still need to keep low. But is there any disturbance of the water here? It's outrageous, Maybe they like it moving up sometimes, but we catch a hell of a lot of fish dead drift. He has to keep the drag off the fly. If you're fishing dry, and your dry fly skating across the surface, unless it's a sedge, you're very unlikely to hook something.
Mae gyda ni broblem bach ar hyn o bryd, mae'r dyn ceffyl a gwedd.
Okay, I bet if you like the look of this, you could come to any of us, the people I just mentioned, and I bet you in about 15 minutes, if the fish were obliging, you'd be fishing and probably catching fish. But how good is that? It means you'll never go fishing on your own again, of course, but I mean, that's how easy this is. We could teach youngsters. Young Morgan there, I was helping Morgan with his caster earlier. I bet he could pick this up in about 10 minutes and be catching fish. Now, I've got my friend here, this is Freddie the fish, because I want to show you one peculiarity. This might sit a little bit uneasy with you. And that was the other system, instead of using clips on the rod, that's just a little thing to wind these round. Let me just, let's go. Just give him a minute to swim downstream. It's a big pipe through there actually, with bell hooks. You see the bend in that rod? Even a fish of that size will pull pretty damn hard on here. But bear in mind, the Japanese only used to be catching like 6 to 9 inch fish. We're on Bala, you know, we're on the Dee, wherever. We're going to catch grayling up to 3 pounds, we're going to catch big trout on this, and they are going to fight like hell. Now, if you've got a big fish on one of these, and you just try and keep the rod up like this, it's probably going to break off, yeah? So, if I've got a decent fish down there, and it's a big fish, the way we will play it is to hold the rod like this. It's totally alien to you, because then you've got one hell of a spring. I mean, Freddie could go about 6 to 10 feet down there, and I'd still be in control. But these rods will bend right down to here. Does that make sense? And the thing is, I think when we're fly fishing, if a fish goes that way, we pull this way. But with this, if a big fish is swimming that way, we lead them this way. He turns round and bolts for the other side. We turn around. So, you know, we are bringing this fish round on this big curve all the time. And they get very tired. Simon right behind me mentioned this, I'm with the camera there. He's got a salmon, was it £10 or £9? Can you believe a £9 salmon on something like that? Fantastic. And I'm sure that Simon played it the same sort of way that I'm explaining. They get tired. I wonder sometimes if big fish even know that they're hooked. They just think they're being towed around, which is very strange. Anyway, so let's say that we've hooked this really good fish. I can't let him, I've got this very, very short net.
Yn y prif gylch i Mr Tim Kersey, bydd yn rhaid arddangosfa ni ei waith gyda'r ceffylau gwedd. Please welcome Mr Tim Kersey and his shy horses into the main ring, where he will be demonstrating his work with the shy horses. Diolch yn fawr.
If he wants to go tearing off, you can allow that to slip through your fingers again. So, you know, if it really goes, then you've got to let go completely. Otherwise, you bring it down here, and sometimes they just come in like little pussies. It's as simple as that. You can hand them out, you know, but we don't like handling fish too much. But it's a bit of a strange thing. I always throw them back. Just quietly collapse like this. Freddie's going to keep fighting me here. I mean, that's 1 millimetre thick at the top. It's horrendous, you know. You think you're going to smash it, but you don't. I'm going to put a plug in the top of this, because if it pulls out, I could break it. And as I say, you know, you can either use this system, where you, in fact I will. I can just wind that in on here, or we can use that system of little clips on here. Pretty sharp. You won't roll it. Let me just show you one thing on this. It's only a flat rate. You can either do very vertical, you know, as you would do an ordinary cast like that. I prefer what we call an oval cast, slightly. 6. No, 9'6".
10 foot 6. 10 goes up to 13.
12'9". So if you suddenly get to a tight bit of river, just lock it in.